Most gardeners think compost is the magic fix for heavy clay soil. I used to believe that too, until I spent years experimenting in my own backyard plots and raised beds. The problem is that while compost can certainly improve soil fertility and add nutrients, it doesn't always address the underlying structural issues that make clay soil so challenging to work with. Clay compacts easily, holds water like a sponge after heavy rain, and often forms a dense, almost impenetrable layer that plant roots really struggle to penetrate and grow through. I learned the hard way that simply piling compost on top of heavy clay soil isn't enough to make a real difference. What actually transformed my garden beds wasn't just adding more organic matter in the traditional sense. It was a simple, often overlooked material, plain cardboard sheets. If you're serious about transforming heavy clay into productive, living soil that truly supports your plants, stay with me and I'll show you exactly why this method works so much better than conventional composting techniques. And, if you care about practical, reliable, and repeatable gardening results, subscribe to Farm Logic now, so you don't miss out on the deeper insights and tips I share in every video. The mistake most gardeners make is assuming that clay's problems are nutritional. Clay soils often have plenty of minerals. The real issue is how the particles bind together. Waterlogging, crusting, and poor aeration all stem from clay's density, which restricts root growth. While compost can improve fertility, it rarely changes deep compaction or soil structure. If you apply compost on top of clay soil, you might notice some surface improvement at first, but underneath, plant roots still encounter the same hard pan layer. Over time, this means plants struggle to establish, drainage remains poor, and you'll continue battling weeds and persistent stagnation in your garden beds. My first lesson with clay beds: fertility is important, but structure matters more. If you don't address how the soil physically behaves, compost is only a partial solution. When I added cardboard in thin layers over my clay beds, the effect was immediate and measurable. Unlike compost, cardboard doesn't just feed soil microbes, it also creates valuable space. As cardboard breaks down, it produces channels that allow air and water to penetrate deeply. Worms, which had largely ignored my clay beds before, began colonizing within just a few days. Their tunneling loosens the soil, creating a network that lets roots spread and absorb nutrients. The decomposition of cardboard also produces humus, but the key difference is it starts at the structural level, not just by adding organic matter. In my raised beds, I cut cardboard into strips, making sure they fit the space well, and then laid them flat across the surface of the soil, covering it completely before moistening them thoroughly. A layer about 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick works best. Too thin, and the effect is minimal. Too thick, and decomposition slows down considerably. One thing I noticed early on is that cardboard performs best when it's kept consistently moist. If it dries out, it won't break down and can even temporarily repel water. I keep a hose or watering can handy when I lay down new sheets, making sure the cardboard is saturated but not flooded. Over a few days, it softens and starts to blend with the soil surface, creating a micro-habitat for microbes and worms. In backyard beds, I usually top the wet cardboard with a thin layer of mulch or sometimes straw to help retain moisture in the soil and prevent the mulch from blowing away in the wind. In hydroponic systems, cardboard isn't used directly, of course, but the principle of creating decomposable porous layers can be applied with fiber mats or with coco coir to improve substrate aeration and overall plant health. I've always said that worms are the real gardeners, quietly working beneath our feet to transform the soil. With clay soil, they often avoid beds because, well, compacted particles are hard to burrow through, making it tough for them to thrive. Cardboard acts as both food and an entry point, inviting worms in and encouraging them to stay. When I laid down a layer of cardboard on my garden beds, I noticed earthworms appearing in large numbers within just a week, far more than in beds that were treated only with compost or left bare. Their burrowing helps aerate the soil, incorporate organic matter, and greatly improves drainage and soil health. It's worth noting that this method works best when the cardboard is non-glossy and completely free of colored inks or coatings. The cardboard should be shredded into manageable strips. In one 4 by 8 foot raised bed, I used 6 large sheets, moistened them thoroughly, and within 10 days worms were actively moving between the cardboard and soil. This proved far more effective than months of compost applications alone. I learned that layering cardboard with other organic matter works much better than using cardboard alone. In my clay beds, I alternate layers of cardboard, compost and straw. The cardboard provides structure, compost supplies nutrients, and straw helps retain moisture. Over a season, this combination transforms heavy clay into friable, living soil that supports truly robust plant growth. For small backyard gardens, start by laying down a layer of cardboard and then add about a ½ inch of compost on top of the cardboard before finishing with a light straw mulch. This creates a bed that can be planted within just a few weeks. For larger plots, repeat this layering process in strips or sections to gradually rehabilitate and improve the entire area over time. Many gardeners hesitate to use cardboard, fearing it takes too long to break down. But in my experience, cardboard decomposes faster than expected in moist, microbe-rich clay beds. Within a month, the cardboard begins to integrate with the soil, breaking down gradually as it becomes part of the earth. By the end of a season, it has contributed significantly to both soil structure and organic matter content. Worms accelerate this process, as do other soil organisms, all working together to enrich the garden ecosystem. Many believe cardboard breaks down too slowly, but this often results from dry conditions or layers that are too thick. When kept moist and layered properly, cardboard transforms clay soil, helping plants thrive. I've run side-by-side comparisons in identical clay beds, one treated with only compost and the other with a combination of cardboard and compost. The difference between them is, honestly, striking. Plants in the cardboard-treated bed establish faster, roots grow deeper, and overall vigor is noticeably higher. Compost alone does improve nutrient content, but roots still encounter those dense clay layers below. The cardboard creates decomposing pockets that worms and roots can exploit, transforming what was once impermeable clay into friable soil. For example, in one tomato bed, plants in the cardboard amended section produced fruit 2 weeks earlier than those in a compost-only section. This structural improvement also reduces waterlogging, which is absolutely critical for preventing root rot in heavy soils. For anyone working with clay, the takeaway is simple. Focus on building structure first, above all else. Use cardboard as a base layer, moisten it thoroughly, and encourage worms to move in, then add a generous layer of compost on top. Just remember, avoid making layers so thick that they prevent proper decomposition. Keep the beds consistently moist and watch how worms and soil life respond. Over time, this method creates soil that's easy to work with, holds nutrients well, and supports healthy plants without the frustration and labor of endlessly digging in amendments. I've used this method in small backyard plots and large raised beds, and even in hydroponic setups. The core principles, moisture, structure, and soil life, are always key. With these, you can transform clay into productive, healthy ground. Clay soil frustrates many gardeners. Traditional advice to add compost only scratches the surface. Literally, keep experimenting and learning. By using cardboard in a strategic way, we can create conditions that actively attract beneficial worms and other helpful soil life, improve soil structure, and produce living, friable soil that sustains healthy plants for the long term. It's a practical, low-cost gardening method that almost anyone can easily implement at home. Want more tips for transforming tough soils into thriving garden beds? Subscribe to Farm Logic and share this video with your gardening friends. Real results come from experience-tested techniques, and by learning together, we can all grow better gardens.